Hello and welcome to the Colts Blue Zone Podcast. Matt Adams here with a recap of the Colts and their 27-20 loss to the Los Angeles Rams. First loss of the season for the Colts, unfortunately, and just a lot of things that did not go Indy's way in this game. And when you talk about it, I mean, the title of this episode is going to be Fumbled Away, because the Colts fumbled this game away, and that's Adonai Mitchell for sure. Made a bonehead play. We saw Jonathan Taylor do the same thing last year against Denver. Unfortunately, the young wide receiver does a very noticeable thing that cost the Colts a touchdown in this game, but that was sort of a microcosm of this game for the Colts. They just did not play as efficiently and as effective as we've seen them play from the last through the first three games of the season. And in some regards, it's expected, because you cannot think that the Colts are going to play at the level that they played at in the first three games with the one punt and just the 1 3 and out and those types of things. Those are hard to sustain. That's why it was so notable. And what this team's capable of, and they did not play their best against the Rams this week, and I think that's glaringly apparent to anyone who watched the game. Now let's take a look at those AFC South standings. The Jaguars pulling within pulling to the same record as the Colts, as Jags beat the 49ers in their undefeated start to the season. The Texans finally getting a win on the board as they beat the Titans in kind of an AFC South week here in the league. So the Colts at 3-1, Jags at 3-1, 1-3 for the Texans, and 0-4 for the Titans, as their miserable start continues. The Titans not even able to muster points on the board. And before the Colts game, they showed the Texans and Titans game, and it was kind of a miserable game all the way around, especially in the first half. I think it was 6-0, and there were missed field goals, and nobody was getting into the red zone. And then the Texans finally started to put some offense together in the second half of that game. But let's talk a little bit first about the Colts and Daniel Jones. And, he wasn't bad in this game. I mean, he completed about 73% of his passes. He passed for 262 yards in this game. He had a touchdown, ended up with a couple of sacks. He did have a fumble, which he did not lose. But, it was not sort of the efficient game that we saw from Jones. He didn't look as comfortable in the pocket to me in this game, and that Rams defensive line is tough. They've got a good pass rush, and I kind of felt like Jones and the offense were feeling that a little bit more in this game than they have in other games this season. And again, the numbers aren't terrible. He completed a high percentage of his passes again, as we've seen. Probably the most notable thing to me is it was about 7.9 yards per attempt, which we've seen him over 9 in the first three games of the season, each one of them. So that's where you kind of see some of the issues with just not being as effective for the Colts. And they had some 3-and-outs, and, they had to punt the ball. And, of course, you're going to punt the ball. But, we have seen where they only had 1 in 3 games. They had 4 in this game for Rigoberto Sanchez. And, I think probably the worst part of it for me, for Daniel Jones, is we've seen this a little bit on even in the first 3 games. Sometimes when he tries to go deep, there's just not enough on that ball. He's not getting it far enough. He tends to underthrow his receivers. We've seen it to Alex Pierce a couple of times, Adonai Mitchell. We saw pick up a defensive pass interference on a long play because that ball was kind of underthrown. And so on the first drive of this game, Jones had it. He had the wide open he had an open receiver, but he underthrew that ball, and that allowed the safety to undercut it and intercept it. And then we saw him kind of do the same thing toward the end of the game, where he tried to hit Pittman on the left sideline on a deep throw, and that one was underthrown a little bit and then undercut, and he forced that one. It's the end of the game. The Colts are he's trying to make a play. The Colts are trying to, muster a score to get back into the end of things there and maybe tie it up with a little bit of time left. But, so that was a little more desperation, but, still, they had some time on the clock. They had some timeouts. You want to try to keep things alive as best you can, and it was kind of a throw that you didn't necessarily need to make there. There were some other avenues to go, or just throw the ball away, live to fight another day. But that is so easy to say, when you're a fan and you're watching the game. So uh, just kind of not as good of a glossy day for Daniel Jones. Really felt like he was kind of fighting against it this week. Pocket not as clean. We saw the Colts get blown off the line a few times on the offensive line, which we don't see all the time. You'll see it on occasion, but this was consistent. And then the Colts racked up a lot of penalties in this game. I think they had 11 accepted penalties in this one. 11 penalties for 88 yards for the Colts in this game, and just a really just not a sound performance all the way around here for the Indianapolis Colts, and that's how you lose 27-20, and especially when you when you do this. Adonai Mitchell, man, second round pick for the Colts, and we last year, and we thought that with Alec Pierce out, this was going to be his game to kind of shine and do some big things. And, there was elation for a little while here because he made a nice catch. He did a nice evasive maneuver, and then he sprinted and showed that speed that we know that he has down the sidelines, doesn't step out, stays in bounds. And then when he's getting to the goal line, for some reason, inexplicably, he's not the only player ever in the history of football to do this. We saw Jonathan Taylor do the same thing last year against Denver, essentially. And, he's celebrating, and instead of waiting until he gets across the goal line, celebrates before he gets to the goal line and is trying to raise the ball up, and he lets go of it, fumbles it out of the back of the end zone. And so instead of becoming a touchdown and giving the Colts a nice little lead, instead it's a touchback and the Rams get the ball. And man, I feel for the kid. I do, but you just cannot allow these things to happen. And then, as we've seen with Mitchell, this got in his head, right? Because I'm not going to say he sulked, but this was in his mind for the rest of the game. You could just kind of tell by body language and that sort of thing. And after that play, he just was a non-entity in this game for the most part, except he made one more key play, and that was a holding penalty on what would have been a Jonathan Taylor touchdown run, like a 50-plus yard touchdown run for Jonathan Taylor. But, the part of the reason he was able to go that is because Mitchell kind of grabbed onto his guy and spun him around on the edge there. And so just a forgettable day for Adonai Mitchell. And, just you hate to see it for a lot of reasons. This is a guy that, you hope that you can depend on, and he's shown some signs this season making, he's not been super involved in the offense. He doesn't have the level of Downs or Pierce or Pittman or any of those guys. But when he has been called upon to make some plays this season, he's made some nice catches, made some nice sideline catches, drawn some pass interference penalties, and we just know he's got such good one-on-one skills. The one guy on this team that we know can beat the coverage, and he just, one-on-one just cannot put it together. And what an embarrassing play for him and for the Colts, and it should have been a touchdown. And they probably, how things go, they probably win this game. If he doesn't do that. And so, when you say fumbled away, you mean that literally with Mitchell, but the Colts in general just made, too many mistakes there. They played clean. It wasn't going to last forever, right? No turnovers in the first 3 games, and now they have 3 turnovers in this game with 2 interceptions from Daniel Jones. Kind of bookends the game for him on the first drive and on the last drive, and with interceptions from Jones. He did have another fumble, or he had a fumble where he got sacked, but the Colts were able to recover that one. And then the third turnover was the Mitchell fumble. And man, just a lot of penalties too for the Colts. Like, they weren't able to muster a touchdown later in the game when they got a turnover, and that led to, I believe, a field goal. And that was because just they had an offensive pass interference, and then the penalties just killed the Colts drives a couple of times in this game. And then from a defensive standpoint, Before I get to defense, I would like to talk about Tyler Warren real quick. Good game from Warren. We've seen a lot of good things from him this season that pretty much continued here. 5 catches for 70 yards for him, average of 14, a catch, long of 24. And he did have 6 targets in this game, so 5 of 6 there for him on from Daniel Jones. Then he had a couple of runs as well, including his first NFL touchdown. So we've seen the Colts move him around. They've continued to do that, and it's worked out pretty well for them this season. He's been a great addition and really a tough run there to kind of old school, kind of put him in the fullback position there and just had him go up the middle, and he was able to get some blocks and then just an individual great effort to just kind of, muscle his way through there. So, that's what you like to see from Tyler Warren. Now, before I talk about the defense, let's hear from Colts head coach Shane Steichen.
I'll start off just injury update. Tyler Goodson's oral injury with the groin. Credit to the Rams. They found a way to win it at the end. We got to be better. Obviously, we hurt ourselves in a lot of situations with penalties. We got to take care of the football, and that starts with me. So, open up with questions.
Shane, what do you think of the play with Adonai Mitchell, and I guess what did he tell you? How do you explain that turnover?
Yeah, it's hard to explain in that situation, but we got a lot of faith in AD, and this is a bump in the road for him, and he's going to bounce back. And we got a lot of confidence in his abilities.
After JT made the mistake last year, is this something you emphasized?
Yeah, it's a point of emphasis, and I got to do a better job of emphasizing it more. It starts with me.
You also had the holding call on JT's run before it cost it too. Just what did you see there?
Yeah, I didn't see the penalty, but they called it. We'll go back and look at it. And again, all those things start with me.
Through his first 2 years, AD's had some ups and downs. I guess how do you help him through this, because this is tough?
Yeah, it's all part of his process and his journey. Everyone's journey is different. He's got a lot of ability in his body, and so we got to get through it this week and get ready to go for Vegas next week.
Just in overall, penalties, mistakes generally, just what do you attribute some of that to?
I mean, penalties, it really comes down to fundamental and technique in the penalties, and it's been in the red zone, the last couple weeks, and we got to clean that up because that's huge. I mean, there was probably a couple where we could have had scored 34, with touchdowns. I got to go back and look at Warren's play there where he caught it down to the 3. Look at that one, and obviously the big run, JT, to take the lead there. So, got to get those cleaned up.
What if that's the other way David Howard played today? Do you feel like the Rams were targeting off?
I thought, credit to those guys. I think those guys got really good receivers. Puka and Devontae are really good players, so credit to them. But we'll go back and look at the tape.
Do you have to at least have the conversation about personnel at that spot? This is not the first game where he's kind of, where they kind of went after him.
Yeah, look, he's been a hell of a player in this league for a long time. But obviously, we'll go back and look at the tape, and we evaluate everything, and it starts with me.
With Daniel's performance, what did you see from him?
I thought he played good. I mean, obviously, the first one, we tried to take a shot there. I thought the safety made a good play on the ball. And then there at the end, obviously, we're just trying to get chunks there at the end and try to throw a whole shot to Pitt. And the guy went up and made it, but I thought he was efficient throwing it. So, yeah.
When he goes deep, does he need to let it go earlier?
I don't know. I'll go back and look at it. I think he's been throwing it pretty good, though.
After AD's fumble, defense forced 3 straight punts.
Yeah.
Is that kind of complimentary football?
Yeah, no doubt. I thought our defense did a hell of a job bouncing back from that and to keep us in the game. And obviously, go take the lead there. But obviously, we didn't do enough at the end to win it.
Did you say anything, or are you too busy with just the next play?
Yeah, I went and talked to him. I said, hey, hang in there. Hang in there. We need you. Let's go. And obviously, he ended up playing the rest of the game.
What did you see in that final Rams touchdown, Tutu Atwell, long reception? Was that like miscue in defense?
Yeah, and just a miscommunication it looked like there. So got to go back and look at that.
What's like about your pass rush today from the big first run?
Yeah, I thought those guys did a nice job up front. All those guys that, Buckner, I thought did some really good things. Latu, Quiddy, Sampson, I thought, they did a good job. Obviously, credit to those guys, too. I mean, Stafford's a hell of a player, and he made some big-time plays there when they needed it.
What did it just happen with personnel? And what did they do to make it tough on you guys to run the ball?
I mean, credit to their D-line. They got a good D-line. I thought our offense did some good things. I mean, we popped the big one there, got called for a penalty, would have probably put us over 100 or whatever we had. I thought it was a back-and-forth battle, and obviously we just got to find a way to win those at the end.
Jay, you mentioned it was a back-and-forth battle. How did you feel like your team responded in those situations where they're down a little bit and have a battle back?
Yeah, no doubt. I thought it was. I thought our team responded well. I mean, it was back and forth. Obviously, even after the fumble, our defense, like we just talked about, getting 3 stops there, and then us, taking the lead. As a credit to those guys, our guys, in the fight they got. But obviously, it just wasn't enough at the end.
Bernard, Colts played a lot of good football. Raymond, just a tough matchup today for him, do you think, or just?
Yeah, I thought he battled well. Obviously, Verse is a hell of a player. He's one of the premier pass rushers in the league, and I thought it was a lot of good back and forth there. We'll go back and look at the tape, but I thought our guys up front fought really hard.
Steichen, after the 27-20 loss his team suffered on the road against the Los Angeles Rams, drops the Colts to 3-1 on the season. And just like I said, just not a good game for the Indianapolis Colts in most respects. Defensively, I mean, the Rams did whatever they wanted to do for the most part. Puka Nacua, if there's one guy that you need to stop, it's Puka Nacua. He's going to be in the game plan. You're going to kind of shift your defense to stop him. And the Colts did none of those things. Nacua was automatic. You knew when Stafford was going to drop back, that's the guy he was going to look for. 13 catches, 170 yards. He had a touchdown and 15 targets. So he was 13 of 15 on passes directed his way. Colts just no answers for Nacua. And then, they also had Davante Adams out there, got open for a touchdown at the end of the half. And I think that's probably one of the more disappointing drives I've seen from the Colts as a defensive unit, just as a whole. Rigoberto Sanchez pinned the Rams back on their 4-yard line. There was not a ton of time on the clock, a couple minutes. But you're hoping that you can stand up on defense and at least force a punt, maybe get the ball back at the end of the half, have a chance to maybe get a field goal or maybe a touchdown. And instead, Colts let the Rams march, 96 yards down the field right before the half. And then it appeared to be some sort of miscommunication in the secondary. So the safety kind of shifted over one way, covered a receiver who wasn't there. And that opened up a window for Stafford to find Davante Adams in the end zone. So just, really tough. And then you look at the end of the game. The Colts were trying to get a stop, right? They had a punt that they had gotten just inside the 15 and looking to get a stop, maybe get the ball back, maybe get a last-second field goal, win the game, steal one, and instead, one play, Mekhi Blackman gets his feet tangled, goes down, Tutu Atwell down the sideline for 88 yards. And, that was bad enough as it was, but then when you talk back to the team and you look back at the play, they didn't even have the right number of players out on the field. Hard to defend with just 10 guys out there. And, Cam Bynum saw the broken coverage, but he had no chance to get over there to get Atwell and stop him. He's got such good speed and just didn't have the angle for him, didn't expect it to, you've got to have your players hold up on those types of plays. And unfortunately for the Colts, just not a sharp day. I mean, I hate to keep just saying the same thing over and over again, but you look at the penalties, you look at the defensive coverage, you look at Xavier Howard just getting beaten time and time again, and you just look at all those plays that Nacua was able to make. When the mark of a great player is when the ball is going to go to him and you still cannot stop him no matter what you do. I mean, Nacua is one of the best. That's why he leads the NFL in receptions and yards coming into the game. And after this game, I think he probably still does. So, just not necessarily what you want to see from the Colts on a defensive from a defensive standpoint. Just blown coverages and poor, and even really they didn't allow like an insane amount of rushing yards, right? It wasn't like a terrible day. But Kyren Williams felt like he was able to get yards whenever he wanted to and had a hard time. Colts had a hard time bringing him down. He averaged almost 6 yards a carry. He only had a long of 11, but it just felt like every time he got the ball, he was able to make some plays happen for the Rams. So just a really rough defensive day. On the plus side, they were able to get some defensive pressure on the quarterback. They had a few sacks in this game, and Stafford's a hard guy to sack because he gets rid of the ball fast. He knows how to operate that offense. He knows what he's doing out there. And so it is hard to get him down. But the Colts did get him a couple of times. They put some pressure on him, knocked him around a little bit. Latu had a sack his first of the year, a couple quarterback pressures. Also, Tomo Adibare, not coming out of nowhere. We've seen him before, but making some plays, making his presence known there for the Colts. And so it's not all bad. I'm not ready to hit the panic button on this thing, but I felt like going into this game with some of the things going up against them, with Matt Gonzalez being out at right guard, Alec Pierce being out, Kenny Moore being out. When you've got Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua out there, not having Kenny Moore in the game changes what you're going to do defensively, changes your talent level defensively, right? So kind of having those three guys out was big, but every NFL team deals with injuries, and it's not unique to the Colts. But the fact they started so well, they're going against a team and having to play on the West Coast, which isn't always an easy adjustment for teams sometimes. Against a Rams team, that's a talented team. They've got talent all over the place. You look at offense, defense. This is a talented team. They've got a good quarterback, an experienced quarterback, great receivers, some really standout defenders, especially along the line in the interior of that defense. And so they're able to put pass rush on and blow up some plays. You saw Tanner Bortolini just get knocked backward on a play by, I think it was Jared Verse on that one. And so you just knew that I just felt like it might have been a little bit of a letdown, and also a Rams team that was angry because of the way they lost the week before against the Philadelphia Eagles, a game that they should have won but didn't. So I kind of felt like maybe the Colts were in for a letdown here, but they still had a chance to win this game. Let's listen in now to quarterback Daniel Jones.
Mitchell was crossing the goal line. Looks like a big touchdown, give you the lead in a key moment of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think first, he made a heck of a catch on that play to get to the ball there. Incredible catch. Yeah, I mean, tough play for sure. After such a tremendous effort, just lost the ball there at the end. But feel for him. I know he hurts with that, but he'll bounce back. And he's a hardworking guy. He's in there every day grinding. So we all have a lot of faith in AD, and I'll continue to have a ton of faith in AD. And one play doesn't define any ball game. We didn't do enough today to win the game.
As a quarterback, do you say anything after that play, like on the sidelines, in the heat of the moment?
I think just making sure he knows I'm going to keep coming to him and keep counting on him, and just communicate that to him. He cares a lot about this. He works hard. He's one of those guys. So just kind of encourage him to play the next play, move forward, and that's the communication there. But like I said, one play doesn't define the game.
Daniel, how much do mistakes get magnified in a game like this? And I'm not just talking about AD, penalties, whatever it might be, against tight games against a team like that.
Yeah, I think that certainly you're playing a good team, and that all those plays, times when you hurt yourself, self-inflicted stuff, turning the ball over, penalties, all that stuff is going to be magnified in a game against a good team. We fought and went back and forth, but ultimately I think we shot ourselves in the foot too much.
You avoided the turnovers up to this week. I don't know, just with this sort of situational things, or is there anything?
I mean, I think on the first one, just got to throw a better ball, get it out there for him, let him run into it. Second one, just a force, I think, at that point in the game. No need to force that. We got timeouts and time, I think. Just understand that better.
The first one, would you want to throw it a little earlier and then obviously longer?
I thought I threw it. I thought the timing of it was fine. Just the ball location could have been better.
What did you see on Tyler's touchdown? Because you were kind of pushing the pile a little bit there.
Yeah, I just tried to help where I could. A good effort by him and those guys, and they were pushing. Just tried to add on there. But we got in.
That was Daniel Jones on the 27-20 loss to the Los Angeles Rams. The first loss of the season for Indianapolis. They will go back to play at home against the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday here at Lucas Oil Stadium. So hopefully that'll be a little more friendly confines for the Colts. A couple other things I did notice from the game. Shane Steichen with kind of a savvy challenge earlier. They called Matthew Stafford first down on a 4th and inches play on a quarterback sneak, and Shane Steichen didn't think it was a very good spot. I thought he was correct. I just didn't think they would overturn it. But, they did. And that ended up being a big play for the Colts. We did get we got a nice touchdown catch from Michael Pittman Jr. He had 10 targets in this game, but only 5 receptions. So just kind of not quite on the same page. Kind of keep waiting for that Josh Downs game to happen. Not there quite yet. 5 targets, 4 receptions for 24 yards. Jonathan Taylor, he had a decent game. Would have looked a lot better if that 53-yard touchdown run would have been able to stand. As it stood, 17 carries for 76 yards, no touchdowns, 4.5 yards a carry, had a long to 12. Also, 5 receptions for 20 yards, and a couple of those receptions were kind of dicey. One of them, they're trying to set up screens, but guys were like in the backfield on top of Taylor when the ball was being thrown, and he tried to do his best to make some stuff happen there. But we'll check in on those AFC South standings one more time here. Colts 3-1, still at the top of the division. They don't play Jacksonville, I don't believe, until December, so it'll be kind of waiting to see how things play out there late in the season. They don't play the Texans until later either. So we'll see how that goes. But for now, just a disappointing loss, because even though the mark sometimes of a good team is that even when you're not at your best, you manage to win. And the Colts were almost there this week to the able to overcome it. But just too many mistakes, the penalties, inability to cover Puka Nacua, the just mind-bogglingly bad play from Adonai Mitchell on the fumble that just cost you a touchdown, having to settle for a field goal when you had really good field position and you have an offensive pass interference penalty. And so just things like that compound and add up, and they lose you ball games. And the Colts, who have made so many winning plays in the first 3 weeks of the season, made some losing plays against the Rams, and that's why they are now 3-1 instead of 4-0. So for Dave Griffiths and Mike Chappell, I'm Matt Adams for the Colts Blue Zone Podcast. Thank you for watching and for listening.